Hi, Keith Redpath. Tell
Hello.
us where you are zooming from.
I'm zooming from Colorado Springs, where I've been living now for the last 4 years.
And what do you do in the world of music there?
So I've been teaching at a charter school. I'm teaching high school orchestra. It's a public charter school that has the unique thing that all the students, every single one of them, play in orchestra. Um, so there's a lot of orchestras at the school, and I'm in charge of the ninth and 10th graders.
Wow.
And I'm also playing with the Colorado Springs Philharmonic, which is on a little break right now.
I bet. I bet. How many do you have in each orchestra that you have?
So the ninth grade orchestra is like 70 plus usually,
Wow.
and the uh, 10th grade orchestra is 50 plus.
Thank you again for just being willing to chat with me and um, our patrons know you. You're playing in your face very well. Gosh, believe it or not, this was to have been our 24th season. And I think you played in the very first season, didn't you?
I did indeed.
Do you remember what you played?
I do. I remember um, getting a call from you, I think, saying, "Will you play the Brahms Piano Quintet on our first concert?" And having just recently finished my master's degree there at WSU, I was very honored and very excited to play that in that concert. And I remember playing with Joe Shear and Laura Kennedy and you and I think David Sheps.
Yeah, now I do remember that. Um, Very cool. Let's see. Do you know, do you have a rough idea of how many concerts you've played out at the barn over the years or how many times you came?
Yeah, I was thinking about it. I think it's at least 9 times. Um, yeah, I was counting them up, but I'm pretty sure about 9 times.
So that's nine separate concerts, and then of course they all have multiples.
Right?
That's a lot of concerts,
It is.
and we're still friends. We can tell each other we play out of tune and out of time. That's a sign of a good friendship.
Yeah. I think I probably played with you on every one of those performances.
Most likely, that's the the real wonderful thing about my job is I get to play and I get to choose who I play with. It's all very Okay, let's
selfish.
see. I've got kind of a philosophical question for you, and you certainly um, have spent many years dedicating your life to string quartet playing in the Harrington Quartet. But can you just talk a little bit about why you enjoy playing chamber music?
Wow. I think way back when I was an undergrad um, at the Eastman School of Music, um, the Cleveland Quartet was in residence there, and so I went to hear them a lot. And I was drawn to playing in quartets because it was just a neat way to meet people and uh, create friendships. And in fact, that first year as a freshman at the Eastman School of Music, one of those friends that I made and played quartets with was Andy Cole, who is another chamber music at the barn performer and also a colleague of mine here in Colorado Springs. Um, I think I grew very, really interested in because I feel I've always felt like a sense for being on a team and there being teamwork and being able to create musics with a small group as a way to kind of preserve my own personal identity and also have like the awesomeness of lots of people playing, not just as opposed to like trying to be or doing a lot of solo work felt too alone for me.
I see. Is there any aspect of preparing and performing concerts for chamber music at the barn that kind of stands out for you as a chamber musician as opposed to performing, at a festival or other places? We, obviously meet for very intensive and limited rehearsals. So it's kind of a different scene, but could you talk about that a little?
Yeah, actually, I think that might be one of the things I like about it a lot. For most of the concerts that I played at chamber music at the barn, I was not living in Wichita, so it's kind of like leaving home and coming and being with great musicians, great friends, and having like 2-3 days to rehearse together, and that's all we had to do. And that seems to me an ideal way to have chamber music instead of like trying to fit it in here and there around other busy schedules. It's also been, chamber music at the barn has been special to me because it's been a place to keep in touch with people like you and other musicians from the last 30 years that I've played with, and like connecting the dots of people from my musical life over quite a long time now.
Yeah. 24 years is a long time.
Also, I think it's kind of neat that when we rehearse at Chambers at the Barn, we get to rehearse in the space we're going to perform in, which isn't always the case. So we have those like 2 or 3 days, and it's on location where we're going to perform. So in that way, it's really, really positive, nice experience.
Yeah. Let's see. Do you have any special or fond memories of any particular rehearsal or concerts over the years out at chamber music at the barn?
Well, I would say that first concert for sure. I was so thrilled and excited to be able to playing one of my favorite pieces, Brahms' Piano Quintet. Meeting Joe and Laura. I don't think I had ever met them before that concert. And I remember Joe wanting to record some show pieces, and he asked me to listen to him and be kind of a producer for him and things like that. That was just all interesting and fun and a good memory. And then I also remember, I guess it was probably just the next year, playing the Bach Goldberg variations with David Perry. And what an amazing arrangements and amazing, I mean, David Perry was stunning in those concerts. I was playing the Mendelssohn Octet there was pretty special. First of all, a lot of good friends involved, and also I remember Dr. Mays's pre-concert talk on the piece, which brought, as always, more insight into that, awesome piece. And another very special concert for me was, I think it was in 2010, playing the Dvorak Dumki Trio with Manny Lopez and Jamie Knight. And I just remember I just felt really good about the concert, and it was a great piece. It also happened to be the last concert that my mother got to hear. She died the year after that, and it was a good. I always think of that concert actually when I think of the barn.
That's such a special piece, even though it doesn't have a viola. It's a very special piece. Let's see. My next question is, can you share any thoughts about what or how you think chamber music at the barn has contributed to our community? You, I think, are a good person to answer that because you lived here for, was it 4 years?
6, actually.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
So you were getting your master's for 2, and then
Then I stayed for 4 more years, which is when I was principal second violin in the symphony.
right.
And after those 4 years, I decided to go on and do a doctorate at the University of Minnesota.
I see. And your lovely wife was playing in the symphony, and did she get her grad degree at the same time that you got yours?
1 year later.
Okay. That was a good reason to stay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just, I mean, I think you have a pretty good perspective of what kind of an impact maybe we've made, or how important you think it is. You know some of our patrons too.
Right. Well, I think that having a dedicated series like that for 24 years, contributes in a huge way to the overall health of the community. And I think the concerts, they provide such a great setting for people to gather and enjoy the goodness and beauty of music and nature and just being together. It brings people together, giving them a feeling of community, gets them out of their homes and creates social interactions, and maybe helps people think about community and priorities for the community and being there for each other and helping each other out. I think Yo-Yo Ma said that music was invented because it creates community. So I think the music series like this, where people are coming to gathering to enjoy beautiful things, it's like, to me, I've noticed it's like a great, also sort of like equalizer wherever people are outside of a concert setting, or when they come to hear a concert and everyone's enjoying the music that they're hearing. That's the important thing. Doesn't matter who they are, where they're from. And so I think that chamber music at the barn, having been there for, summer in, summer out, just it's critical to the health. One of the critical things that.
How have you felt about the audience being kind of, able to smell our sweat? Is that a good thing for you or a bad thing for you? And
I remember at the beginning, the first few times playing there, it was like very scary.
ah,
It was like, oh my gosh, they're so close. I think in the last 4 or 5 times that I've been there, I think I mentioned that Dumke quartet performance, Dumke trio performance from earlier. I can remember that as like, I actually like that the people are so close, and I think it's something that I've gotten used to now performing there, and uh, it's actually, it feels, I don't know, you feel like you're right in the middle of it all, and um, I don't know, I think the audience, I can see the audience enjoying that, and feeling like they're almost on stage themselves, and seeing every little bead of sweat.
yeah, yeah. You know, I remember, speaking of sweat, I remember playing the Schubert Cello Quintet one summer, and it was a particularly hot summer. And you know, the slow movement of that, it doesn't have any rests, especially for the poor viola player.
And it's so long.
And it's really long, it's really gorgeous, but I remember sweating so much, and like it was just dripping down my face and like hanging in beads off of my nose and falling on my viola. And there's literally not a second where you can grab anything. I I think it was a good performance, but mostly I just remember how uncomfortable I was.
Right.
Um, and there
I think
was
that's
one
great.
other, sorry.
It's a great feeling about those concerts. Is that maybe that a slight, taking the edge off of formality and like
Uh-huh.
having that ability to sweat, but and knowing that the audience is right next to you, and it's like, here we are, we're playing our hearts out.
Yeah.
Uh,
And I think the audience knows that, it's a very, it's a very honest genre.
right.
You in chamber music, you can't hide anywhere. Um, it doesn't matter if you got a sore finger or a bad sunburn or, um, I remember playing an afternoon concert and I had food poisoning and I made it through, but I was just at any second I could have fallen off my chair, in just absolute, fainted. I was really sick. And I know I was really sick. I mean, I knew I felt really bad, but I remember right after we finished playing, Bob and I think Carrie Schmidt came running up to me and grabbed me and said, "Are you okay?" Because I think I looked like I was going to pass out.
Yeah.
It was bad. But, you just, you do what you got to do, I guess. I have to interject one more thing because the last time you came, I think it was 2 summers ago. It was when we did the Craw trio.
Yes.
And I don't know what it was, probably just stress in my life, but you and Andy and I have known each other for so long. And what I really remember about that set of rehearsals was how much we laughed.
Yes.
We laughed and laughed and laughed, poking fun at each other and just, oh my gosh. And it was so, there's just nothing better for your soul. Maybe chamber music, but
Yeah.
do you remember that?
I do definitely. The laughing at rehearsal. I think on all the rehearsals has been a lot of that, but in that particular one, definitely.
Maybe we just all needed, somebody to be silly with or something. I don't know.
And we were all learning a brand new piece, I think.
Yeah, a really hard brand new piece,
Yes.
but it was so good. I love that trio.
I love that trio too. In fact, that's, I've learned a lot of repertoire for chamber music at the barn. Like that one, I remember that Daknani Serenade for string trio as well. Well, not Daknani, or Kodai.
Good
Right?
eye. Yeah.
Um, that same concert, Andy and I did the Ravel duo, which is super, super duper hard. And that was the first time for me to do that as well. So
I'm sorry.
A laughter.
Who asked you to do these things? Oh, well, it's
But I'm
good.
grateful to have done them.
Yeah. So, I have a hard question to ask you. What is your favorite piece of chamber music? It could be either to play and or listen to.
Well, that is difficult. I guess I would say a lot of times, that can depend on my mood or the audience or the setting. But I think um, the Mendelssohn Octet, the Schubert Cello Quintet, I think the Schoenberg Clairtonacht that we did one year, that's definitely, those three have to be in that conversation.
Manny chose Verclair to Nacht.
Did he?
Yeah.
Yeah, I really love that piece. Well, I guess I like big romantic pieces.
Let's see.
That's okay.
I have two more questions for you. One is, so many of my colleagues that I've talked to have said that they had a COVID music project. Did you do such a thing, or were you just so exhausted you played with your kids, which is a good thing?
Well, after getting through the school year, well, I did have a couple projects. I guess one thing is I was able to practice more just whatever, and not necessarily for upcoming performances like of the Philharmonic. So I went back and went through the Bach sonatas and partitas, and I've been playing a lot of that since COVID started. Just practicing, revisiting, not performing, but just spending time with that. And I've also spent quite a bit of time arranging music for string orchestra.
Right.
I was currently working with the high school orchestras here in Colorado Springs. It's a lot of fun. It's super exciting for me and to share great music with them. So if there isn't a good arrangement of pieces I love, I've decided to start arranging. And just to be able to put something really special in front of them. So I probably arranged, I've lost track, but like 5 or 6 pieces since COVID started.
What kind of music is it?
So I've done everything from Renaissance motet to Debussy pieces like piano pieces like Clair de Lune and Girl with the Flaxen Hair.
Nice.
Also started, events during the summer. I was also being very interested in African American composers, women composers. So I found a composer I didn't know a whole lot about. One is Florence Price, who African American and woman composer who was had her symphony performed by the Chicago Symphony. I can't remember the years now, but sometime in the early to mid 20th century, which I thought was stunning. I'd never heard about that.
Wow.
And, she has a beautiful organ piece called Adoration, which is one of the pieces I arranged for string orchestra.
Nice.
And then there's the Joseph Boulogne, Chevalier de Saint-Georges. I don't know if you've heard of him, but he is a mulatto or African American composer that lived during the time of Mozart. He was actually born in the West Indies, but moved to Paris when he was young, so he lived in Paris most of his life, and he wrote string quartets, symphonies.
Wow.
And yeah, I want to look. There's more research I want to do into that because it's really interesting, and I think there was a little bit of friction and a little bit of relationship with Mozart. And but anyways, I found some duos he wrote for 2 violins, and I expanded that to make it for a string orchestra, which was also kind of fun.
So I guess
Yeah.
my last question would be, is there anything that you would like to say to our patrons besides we miss them? Or Any final thoughts to add just about, Prairie Pines, Bob, how great the viola is?
Well, we do miss the patrons, and I think, we need to thank them for coming out every summer. Um, it's really a joy to be able to play for the patrons. Um, uh, and I just hope we can beat this pandemic somehow so we can continue doing that live. It's a very special and I think important part of all of our lives, and hope we can bring it back soon.
Yeah. It's great to get together and play chamber music, but when you're actually preparing it and then giving it, I mean, I always think of it as giving it as a gift.
Exactly.
It makes it twice as fabulous.
Exactly.
And to actually get paid doing something you like to do is miraculous.
Yes. Very much so.
Okay. Um,